So on this week's episode of Be More Super, we've got a great guest. She is a director, writer, and editor, and she's got so many credits to her name on IMDb. And she's the director of a new movie that's come out on Women's International Day about Natalie Sullivan, which everyone would know about is the Octomom. Mum, as we say in the UK, but over the pond they say mum. So let's introduce Brianne Nord-Stewart. What a name, Nord-Stewart. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
And I've seen the trailer. Absolutely, honestly, it's such a good trailer. So we will ask so many questions, and I'm sure that I'm going to try and get the cast on. That would be quite nice to get the cast on and you know, promote the hell out of this movie, because it's one of those stories that I think that a lot of people, what I always say about the media, we get one side of everything. And it's the interpretation of, you know, I think Denzel Washington said it best, where if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. If you read the news, you're misinformed, which is quite right in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's pretty apt, Mr. Washington.
Yes. So I Was Octamom tells the story of Natalie Sullivan, who obviously had such a journey, and she's had a few documentaries, but you have directed a film about her story. So what drew you to her journey to begin with, and why did you want to tell it now?
For me, I am Natalie Sullivan. At one point, I was one of the most hated people in America. I was Octomom.
Your name is plastered everywhere. Octomom is a welfare mom. Octomom had 8 babies just to be famous. These are all lies.
I'm taking them home this weekend, and I'm going back to normal life.
You're infamous. Normal life is no longer. There's been death threats.
People want me dead?
You and the baby.
That was always a dream of mine, to have a large family.
You have been called. You're responsible.
Mama's here. So cute. I love you.
What are you doing?
I'm working to feed my family.
What are these?
We have an offer for $1 million. You're the star.
I have to sell stories to take care of my kids. Everything I do revolves around my children. You might think you know Octomom, but you don't know me.
I Was Octamom, the Natalie Sullivan story. Premieres Saturday, March 8th at 8.
That is a great question. When my agent brought me the script to pitch for, so it's something that I put together a proposal for, and met with the producers as well as an exec at Lifetime at the same time. I honestly did pause, because making a film with 14 children is a production challenge. But I have worked with kids before, and it was something that I was up to. And I really appreciated what Lifetime had done in the past with these ripped from the headlines movies. So they had done I Was Lorena Bobbitt, I Was Elizabeth Smart, where they had given women who had been sort of torn down in the tabloids the opportunity to be part of voicing their own story. And I thought that those films were very well done. And I was familiar with Octomom. I personally am not somebody who spends very much time in the tabloids, so there was a lot that I didn't know that was being said about her. And like many people, there are lots of things I didn't know that were like actual facts or true. So.
And yeah, I'm there with you, because I knew about this story through the media, but I did it like a deep dive, and it's honestly shocking, you know, what she had to go through, and with the doctor and everything like that. So how did you approach balancing the sensationalized aspects of her story with the human and emotional side of Natalie's experience? Because, you know, as you said, you didn't know much about like sort of the tabloid sort of things. How did you balance that when making the movie?
Well, the way that I approach storytelling and kind of the way that I approach the world is questioning the perspective. It's something that I have been aware of from a pretty like young age in childhood of, just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's the truth. And, truths can be multiple for different people. So one thing that I think makes films and stories successful is when each character really has something behind them that shows their perspective, that, the smallest amount of empathy of what their story is on how they got where they are. And I'm definitely somebody who gives people the benefit of the doubt. I think by nature, most people are good. And this is a pretty unique set of circumstances that would happen to a person. And I was just kind of curious, like, why did this person choose to have 6 kids? Why did they choose to want to have a 7th kid? Like, what led them to this place? And I'm personally interested in things that I don't know about and characters that I don't know about. And I want to empathize with people and stories that just aren't familiar to me.
And I saw some footage of Natalie and her kids, and I've got to say, they seem so well-rounded with the situation that they must have been through, at school, and friends and kids can be cruel. I mean, I've got 2 young girls, and one of them's having to deal with a few bullies at school, and it's difficult. It really is, but they seem so well-rounded, and they are just brilliant. They just seem so just with it. I mean, the media often, the media's betrayed Natalie in a specific light, and the media can be cruel. So how does your film challenge and reshape that narrative?
Well, I think it offers the opportunity to see kind of like how the sauce is made and why choices are made. And in the film, we show that she was a part of some of this tabloid sensation because she was trying to put food on the table for her kids. Like, imagine, I don't have kids, you have 2. I would imagine you're aware of the financial struggle of having that and being a single mother. And for many single people, it's already a struggle to raise kids. So she honestly took what was available to her and created a way to support her kids. And I think we were sort of up to the challenge of trying to condense like this very large storyline that has many, many factors and like many, many characters into something that is production friendly for the length of time that a TV movie is supposed to be.
I mean, it must have been quite difficult to get that all in, for that movie, because this situation that she's been in with the media and everything like that has spanned quite a few years. So what was the biggest challenge in telling this story in the way that kept it both authentic and compelling for audiences?
Well, the script is written by Kelly Fullerton, and so she was involved in the project long before I was. And even when I was brought on, there was a few iterations of the drafts to take production considerations, which is like budget, cast, background actors, the number of locations, all those sorts of things. And like there are aspects that are not in the film, which is like Natalie had a few cats, and which were very important to her life and part of her family. But as you can imagine, having cats on set, especially with 8 toddlers, is just not really something that's going to happen when you make a movie in 16 days. But I know Natalie was, she's an executive producer on the project. So she was involved. She spoke extensively to the writer, Kelly. And I think Kelly and the executive, Stacy, really worked to make sure that like the through line of like what was most important was there. And then once I came on board, I come with a curiosity that I can say, okay, well, this maybe doesn't make sense to me, or this is the way that this line lands to me, or I think we don't need this much exposition here. We understand this. And then you bring in Kristen Gutowski, the lead actress, and any of the performers, and they're going to bring their insight and opinions in as well because I mean, all of these people have worked a lot. They're very professional. They know what they're doing. And for me, knowing how she was received in the tabloids, my thought was this film is going to anger people because they're already angry about this subject matter. They already have judgment. I'm sure there will be trolls. That's just like the nature of the world that we are in. And then there will also be the people who were genuinely interested. And at the end of the day, if we just serve the story into people thinking, oh, wow, there's a person here. And what is the narrative that was told to me? And what else is what other information in the media is fed to me in the way that it is? And why is it fed to me that way? And who is benefiting from that? So those to me were questions of hopefully we can make a movie that humanizes this person and it kind of, turns the lights on for where we are with media consumption today.
Which is a great opportunity for Natalie, because with all the media saying what they've said, and I think one article said that she was the most hated woman in America at one point because everyone thought that she was just sponging off the taxpayers and everything like that. And that must have been so unfair not to be able to have that voice to say something back. But as you said, humanizing this person in a film and having her say and letting audiences experience a bit of a life through this movie must have been so rewarding for her as well, and as well as healing, because did you notice that? I mean, have you had a response from Natalie since the film got released, and what were her thoughts about it?
I was told that she was very happy with the way that the film turned out, which fills my cup. I definitely was aware of not wanting to exploit or sensationalize anything any further. And so, I personally, on a personal level, I care about my integrity. I care about my honesty and authenticity. So the fact that this person who has been through so much said, I'm really happy with this, makes me very happy.
That is awesome. I mean, I can't wait for everyone to watch this. And for me, it's sort of like, I've always said you should never believe in the media half the time. And, I'm looking forward to watching this film in length. I mean, when you talk about, obviously, Natalie was involved, was you involved in the casting? Because I've got to say, Kristen is amazing. I mean, from the trailer, from her voice and the way that she portrays Natalie, I think is spot on. So what went into the casting, and who made that decision on Kristen?
So typically the way that TV movies or TV works in general, but TV movies specifically, is that the number one and the number two, or if it's a single lead, the number one, are chosen by the network. So they will put together a list, or a casting director will put together a list and say, hey, here are people that we think. And sometimes those go straight to offer to specific actors. And then sometimes they will audition actors as well. And I'm so glad that they did auditions for this, because personally, I love auditions because it helps me start to put real life onto what's been written on the page and get ideas started. And Chris's audition, immediately you could tell that she had, with very little time, had put in a bunch of research already. And she had already thought about the voice, and she had already thought about the mannerisms, and just came so well prepared. And I'm so glad that she accepted the offer. And then all the other cast for this movie were local to Vancouver. I believe, or at least originally from Vancouver. And then I watch all the tapes. We did one callback over Zoom. And then I put forward my top 3 or top 2, depending on who it is. And then I talk with Stacy, the co-executive producer, about it. And we then decide together what we're going to send to the network. And then the network will pick. And then offers go out, and that part of the money, the paper stuff, I'm not involved in.
Good, because I presume that is a headache, to deal with the money side of things. You're there, you just make you're there to make the magic happen, as they say. I mean, being a director, I see it as being like a conductor of an orchestra. You're there to basically make sure that everyone performs to their best ability to make this beautiful music, or in your case, the performance on screen. Was there a certain time when you were filming this film that really took you by surprise, that you thought, do you know what, I'm making magic here? You thought this is going to be really, really good.
I think all of your observations are very apt. And one thing that I'm happy with so far in reading reviews is that across the board, everyone's talking about how great the performances are, which I consider a huge pat on the back for myself. Yes, I will take that. When you have wonderful actors, it makes directing your job a hell of a lot easier. I'm trying to think of specific moments where there's a few where I just remember, the set getting quiet. I don't know how familiar you are with film sets, but sometimes they can be quite loud. And depending on who your director is or your assistant director is, they might be shouters. I'm not a shouter. I will bring the volume of my voice down to cue everybody else to bring their voices down as well. And there are just a few moments that where Chris had to be more insular and like more quiet, and you don't really see her break down much in the film, because that's just something she isn't afforded to do when you have to show up for 14 children. And there was just some moments. There's one in the bedroom where her mom ends up coming in and telling her to like rise to the occasion. But I just remember it being very quiet, and working with Chris, those scenes in particular, instead of me saying action and having them have to start immediately, I will usually say, okay, when you're ready, so that they can take their own cue. And I really appreciated Chris also giving me feedback of saying like, I'm going to need another minute, or like, hang on, I need to get there, or I've lost it. Those types of things, because, I want them to do their best. I want them to be proud of their work. I want the crew to be proud of their work, and I want them to feel safe and trust me and know that I have their back. And I think when actors ask you for something, especially if they're not asking for much, you should really listen.
That is awesome. I mean, it's really nice hearing how you direct. I mean, has there been a director that's influenced you, in your path, in your journey?
Well, I'm sure, yes. This film is a drama. It's a biopic. And a lot of what the two, Paul Fegan, Judd Apatow, are directors that I was like, this is work that I want to make. Like, I love comedy. I love the way they make comedy. I like the awkwardness and the tension that they put into it. I haven't personally worked with either of those folks. I read Judd's book, but I think the essence of like running a set where people want to be, and when you see that directors are working with the same actors over and over again, I think that says something. It's a place that people enjoy coming to and want to come to again. And that's the kind of director that I would want to be. And I'm, the first TV movie that I did was kind of like a summer camp because we were on location and everybody was traveled in, and we're all still in touch, which is just lovely to me because I care and they worked hard and they know I worked hard. And like same with Chris. Chris and I are still texting, especially with the premiere. We're like texting every day, but it feels nice.
And it's nice to hear, because you hear so many horror stories about directors out there that are absolutely horrid to their cast and they won't work with again. I mean, do you think the industry's changing? Because I was shocked to hear how many female directors are like literally directing feature films. And I am shocked. I mean, now I'm a father of 2 girls. I want them to grow up, you know, being more, you know, female dominated in the world. This is why I like to see female led casts or you know, strong female characters, because I want them to grow up looking at these role models thinking I can do that. And do you think the industry's changing, or do you think it needs to change a bit more?
I think it absolutely needs to change more, and in ways that you may not think, as well as the ones that are more obvious. I was listening to the episode you did with Katie Sackhoff from, and she was telling you that she wanted to be Bruce Willis, and she was thinking about Die Hard and being like, I want to be like him, not thinking about the fact that she was a woman and he was a man. And I grew up the same way. And I'm somebody who's like, I deserve to be in every room that I am in. And I want to welcome people to the rooms that I am in. And I don't, probably like a bit too late, I realized that really my gender is pretty important to a lot of people. And that's kind of invalidating when you want your work to speak for itself. And there are hopefully more, like there definitely are more opportunities. I would love for the opportunity to come and be like, we love your work and want to have you, and not, oh, we're looking for a female director. We heard about you, which I just hear as like, oh, we heard you have a vagina.
Yeah, that's it. No, I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking to think like 100 years ago, women were writing under like a pseudonym, like a man's name, because that was the only way they can get published. We're in 2025, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the first filmmakers were actually women, and the first editors were all women because it was considered a craft, like arts and crafts. So when they were using like film and the Steinbeck editors where they're like actually like cutting it up and putting tape on, like that was like arts and crafts. And so they were like, oh, the women can do this. So for the longest time, that was female dominated. And yeah, I mean, this film came out on an International Women's Day. It's directed by a woman. It's written by a woman. It's starred in by a woman. It's co-executive produced by 2 women. Those things are really awesome and empowering. And I think those opportunities, my ADHD brain is going in a slightly different direction right now, which is thinking about the power of information, which we were talking about at the beginning of this, right? We're talking about perspective. One thing, and then you asked me like, which directors have impacted me? And one thing that I feel empowered by is when I have information and when I know why something is being done. So in production, if somebody says, no, you can't have this, if I know why, then I am better able to come up with a solution to remove that barrier, or I'm able to creatively wrap my head around it. And I had the opportunity for a year. I worked alongside Mike Flanagan on the series Midnight Mass. And my job was he wrote his shot list on a whiteboard, and my job was to put it into like a design on the computer and then share it with all of the crew. All of the crew knew from the get-go what we were shooting, when, and in what order. which is not something that is given to a lot of crew when you show up on set. They don't know when they're doing something. They don't know why they're doing something. And so everything can be very chaotic. So that's something to me that I'm like, which is very far from your question about female directors. But I'm stewing on all of these questions at the same time.
No, it's fine.
And that's something to me that I'm like, let's give everybody the information so that we all feel like we get to do our job and we're not being kept out of this like secret room for some reason.
And it's good to have all the information because you feel involved. And I completely agree. I'm exactly the same. When someone says something, I will always say, why? I want to know. It's like being a 4-year-old again. Do you know what I mean? Say why?
Totally.
Why? And,
Totally.
And with this, obviously, film being released on Women's International Women's Day, what do you hope this film adds to the conversation about women in the media?
I was not prepared for this question, which is silly. Honestly, like, I think people questioning, looking whether it's at this one person in the way that this one person was represented, or looking at the bigger picture and seeing a pattern, like we were talking about before. And so just thinking about, well, how are men represented and how are women represented and why are they represented this way or that? And also who's consuming it and who is it made for? Because, tabloids exist because people are buying them.
And that argument and that sentiment will go on for many decades because, not to be off subject, but if men sleep with a lot of women, they're like,
Yes.
He's a bloke. But then if women do, there's something else. And I think that's really sad. I think sexism, it just really disappoints me that we're in 2025. We should there shouldn't be any racism. There shouldn't be any sexism. There shouldn't be any homophobicness. We are evolved so much that we should be a lot better at living life.
Well, yes,
I think.
And that honestly is the power of storytelling. Like, I don't know if you're aware of like the Will and Grace effect. Like that show changed America's mind on gay marriage because it showed a story of somebody that wasn't about, like, Will was not ostracized. He had community, he had friends, he had people that loved him. And people saw that and went, oh, okay, like, I love Will. I would want to be friends with Will. And that literally changed America. And I think the power of storytelling, and when we as filmmakers are choosing stories, why are we choosing the stories that we are telling? And there's, I think, a sense of responsibility to that. And like, I would like to make the world a better place. Like,
and this is why I like movies like this, because it's giving you a bit of a life lesson, and it's sort of making you question your own morality, what you stand for and stuff like that. And I'm one that I cry at literally near enough every film. I watched Wicked with my girls. And,
yeah, you're a girl dad.
I don't know. Yeah, I am. I so am. And I don't know if you've seen Wicked yet. But there is a scene in it, and literally I was boiling my eyes. I cry at The Greatest Showman. You name it. So this is why I'm looking forward to watching this film, because I'm sure I'll cry at some point. I guarantee, and I'll let you know when.
Oh yeah,
but
I have a feeling I know when.
Oh dear. Because I get invested in films. I literally are so deep in the character, and I just love character-driven, films. And I'm looking forward to seeing this because, seeing what the media said, I think it's nice to give her a chance and see what you've created with this film. I mean, what do you want audiences to take away from watching this film? What do you think they will take away?
I mean, I hope people take away a sense of, like, she is a person, and her kids are people, and you don't have to agree and you don't have to make those same choices. Like, as I said, I don't have kids. I'm not planning on having kids. Having 14 kids to me seems not something I am going to choose to do.
I mean, 14
But-
anything. 14
Yeah.
cats? No.
Oh my God.
14. I mean, I've got 3 cats, and that's bad enough. Do you know what I mean? And
I have plants, and let me tell you, they just recently had a pest infestation, and that took up many days of my life. So, like, I hope people take away that, you know, these people are people, and you don't have to agree with them, but hopefully, oh man, I think it's just good to see if there's something that is relatable in this person's story or struggle, so that you just give them a little bit of grace, you know?
the one thing I've noticed when I've been seeing interviews of Natalie and her kids, you know, I know so many parents that have only got 1 or 2 kids, and those kids are absolutely horrible. They're not very nice and everything like that. But her kids seem, as I said at the beginning of the interview, very well rounded. So, you know, the other thing I wanted to ask was, do you feel that if Natalie was in the same position now, with social media being the way it is, do you think her journey would be different?
I don't know. I don't know. And it's hard to say, honestly. I don't know.
Because social media now is crazy. Literally, you can't look at the platforms without seeing something terrible. And I just think that there's so many trolls out there that are keyboard warriors that just like to just say a few words, but yet if you got them in the room face to face, they wouldn't. And I think that's a, you know, the thing that cheeses me off. It really, really does. So you are classed as one of Canada's top female directors. Yeah,
I am.
you. And, you know, I mean, you've done this for, is there a film or is there a genre that you really want to sink your teeth into, you know, that you really want to do next? I mean, is there a dream sort of film that you'd love to direct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm developing currently like a coming of age teen summer movie. I love coming of age stories. I don't think they have to be like teen specific or child specific. You know, I think the 40-Year-Old Virgin was a coming of age movie. So those types of stories I'm always very interested in. I also I love, I mean, there's so many things. Like, I listen to so much true crime that I'm like, I would love to make a true crime film, or like a cult, like a film about a cult, or like evangelicalism. That's just like this wild story of like somebody getting out. And then simultaneously, like, I love a good genre comedy that just has so much absurdity in it. There's this film called Slay that's on Tubi by a Vancouver filmmaker, Jem Gerard. And it's like, it's Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, but if there was vampires.
That sounds good.
It's so good. It's so funny. It's
because
so
vampires
absurd.
Is my favorite type of film.
Oh, you need to look at this movie.
I'm not going to mention there is a series of films that I weren't a fan of. But I'm not going to say what that they are, because I'll probably get cancelled for it, because there's so many fans out there. But Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Oh, do you know what? I wanted to go and see it on stage, and I didn't get a chance. And but yeah, oh, I love that. Fantastic film. So what's actually next for you then? What are you up to now? Is it just enjoying the release of this film, or have you got your next project lined up?
Definitely enjoying the release of this. It's nice. It's nice that, like, we only filmed this in the fall, so it's nice that it came out so quickly and everybody gets to enjoy it and it wasn't stuck on a shelf. And then I am writing a feature and like working with a couple of different other writers on projects to pitch. And then like, I would love to, you know, I got to direct a bunch of surgery scenes in this movie. So like, you know, I'd love to direct Grey's Anatomy, Shonda Rhimes, give me a call.
Or The Pit. Have you seen The Pit yet?
No. Is that an
wow.
ER show?
Yeah, well, it's got Noah Wiley in it from the original
Yes.
ER, and it's based in, I think, Pittsburgh. And it's a great series, honestly. It's like non-stop. You've got so many different storylines going on, and it follows a group of student doctors that are shadowing other doctors.
Interns.
And it's just fantastic. It's just brilliant. And hopefully I'm getting a few of the cast on for that, because it's just coming to the end of the season, but it's just been renewed for a second season, which thank goodness it has.
I just wrote it down. And
I tell you what, another film that you should direct. I don't know if you know of a series called Warrior Nun.
No.
Oh,
is it Nun like N-U-N?
N-U-N, yes. Warrior Nun. And it's on Netflix, and it had 2 seasons.
Okay.
It is written, it's produced by David Hayter, that wrote the screenplay for Watchmen. The showrunner is Simon Barry. Was the showrunner for Continuum and Bad Blood, which was a great series. And I know that because it got cancelled, someone bought the rights to it. So they're looking at making the movies, and their fan base is so big, it's unbelievable. When it got cancelled, the fan base crowdfunded and paid for a massive sign to be put up in front of the Netflix offices in LA.
I love that.
To say "Save Warrior Nun," and they did. They put posters around the world, and the fans are like world-based fans, and they've got an amazing queer following because some of the storylines in the show, and they're just a great family of fans. And that would be amazing. Watch it; it's fantastic. I've interviewed the star Alba Baptista, and literally, it's just such a good show. You'll love it, honestly. And I dare you not to love it. It's a really, really good show. But you know what, Brianne, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I can't wait to watch this, because we do get Lifetime movies in the UK, but it's slightly delayed. Normally, I get screeners from HBO and people like that. So I'm going to try and reach out and watch this, because from the trailer that everyone would have watched while we were talking in this interview, because by the power of editing, they would have seen it at the beginning. I am sure that a lot of people are going to go out their way and to watch this movie. But Brianne, thank you so much for coming on to the show. It's an absolute pleasure. And I'll love to have you on again.